Welcome everybody. It's almost going to be fall soon. I've got some upstate apple picking planned for this weekend. I'll tell you how that goes maybe on the Monday bonus show. Listen, after a debate, the candidates are always going to insist that they won. And the campaign is mostly going to, in public, insist that their candidate won. Although Robert F. Kennedy Jr., now a surrogate of Trump's, maybe one of his most prominent surrogates, did admit on Fox News 2 days ago that Trump did not win. But if you really want to get a sense of how the debate went, what you want to hear about are the behind the scenes comments from the staffers. And we now have a couple of different bits of insight into that I want to present to you. And it all paints the same picture of Trump staffers that are defeated and devastated, troubled that Trump wasn't able to do what they told him to do, which is do not start screaming and take the bait from Kamala Harris. Control yourself, stay on message. Wasn't able to do it. And that many Trump staffers are ready to just give up altogether and are privately conceding that Donald Trump completely blew it. Let's look at a couple of examples of this. Here is a report from MSNBC. I believe that this is John Heilemann talking about the behind the scenes from staffers. Take a listen to this.
Completely set him off. And as many people noted last night, that became then a rally version of Donald Trump, which is to say, talking about these obscure subjects that the average normie voter, as we like to call them here, who has a life and isn't tuned into this every day, says, what is he talking about? I don't even know. I don't understand what he's getting at here. So, John Heilemann, you're there in Philadelphia. You were in the spin room last night. What was the sense of things from both the Trump campaign and the Harris campaign afterward?
Well, good morning. And Joe talked before about how you watch something, old political consultant's trick, which is to watch debates with the sound off, and you can get a lot on the visual there. That's true, and it definitely was the case watching this debate. I'll tell you what else you could watch with the sound off and have a good sense of how things went last night. The activity in the spin room, where the Trump forces were dejected, defeated, deflated, dispirited. I picked
dilapidated, I would add, for alliterative purposes.
Posted a photo last night of Matt Gaetz and Stephen Miller coming in a few minutes before Donald Trump came into the spin room that went wildly viral on Twitter because they looked like sort of saggy road. It was like a shot of kind of this is what defeat looks like, folks. These people who've been talking about Donald Trump before the debate, like he's Muhammad Ali. He's the greatest debater in the history of presidential debates. He's done it more than anybody else ever. He's going to wipe the floor with her. There will be surprises, Jason Miller said. She won't know what hit her. And they looked like they had their dogs and cats eaten over the course of that debate. It's also the case, I will tell you that I can report definitively that there was one point of agreement inside the Trump war room and the Harris war room, where both of those war rooms were looking at their dial groups in real time last night. The dial groups that the campaigns are looking at last night showed the same thing, that in real time, the undecided voters that they were looking at, Harris crushed Trump throughout the night. David Plouffe and David Binder are not champagne cork popping kind of guys. I'm not suggesting they actually popped any champagne corks last night, but their attitude was that of metaphorical champagne poppers last night. And the people in the Trump war room last night were popping something different, which I think might have been Klonopin or Maalox, one of the two.
So listen, the kind of zoom out on what happened here is, if you're a Trump staffer and you watch what's happening, I'm sure you don't like Kamala Harris. I'm sure on some level you really do believe that Kamala Harris's policies are the bad policies and Trump's policies, to the extent that he has them, understands them, or that you understand them, are better policies. Okay, I'll concede that on some level you really do believe that Trump is better than Harris. But it would be impossible to be a clear-thinking, rational individual, sit through that debate, and not come away terrified by how easily Kamala Harris was able to elicit this triggered reaction from Trump, where he starts sweating and gripping the lectern and yelling cats and dogs. She set such obvious traps. When she brings up out of nowhere, I would like you to go to a Trump rally and you'll see people bored and people leaving. That is so obvious a trap for Trump. And he failed on it. He started with, well, no one goes to your rallies, but then he goes further and he says the attendees are paid to be there. And he starts screaming and his upper lip is glistening and sweating. And it's hard to look at that and say, man, if in a debate stage format with just 3 people in the room, Trump is not able to control himself and you can elicit the exact emotional reaction you want, what's happening when he's in the room with Putin? And of course, we know what happens when he's in the room with Putin. He comes out and he goes, no, I don't know. I asked Putin about the hacking. He said he didn't do it. I believe him. He said it very, very strongly. Hillary Clinton pointed this out in 2016. And I know it's really popular to keep hating on Hillary. Not enough people seem to care when Hillary pointed it out in 2016. He is constitutionally not with it. He is not what it takes he doesn't have what it takes at a personality level to even be able to do this. And, back with, not to revisit 2016, but you had some sexism, this multi-decade smear campaign against Hillary Clinton, the media enamored with the ratings that Trump was generating, and then Trump won in 2016. Now, here we are many years later, and I'm hopeful that the country is just way more sick of this crap now than they were by November of 2016. I don't know. Here is another clip about reporting about what Trump staffers are saying, feeling, and doing. This one's from CNN.
My lead source tonight might be the main reason why Trump was knocked so off his game. We'll speak to him in a second. But I do want to start with some new reporting for you tonight on what happened in Philadelphia last night. I'm told that as soon as Donald Trump exited that debate stage, he immediately began quizzing those waiting in his viewing room about how the last 90 minutes had gone.
Now, this, of course, classic sign of insecurity. Did I do okay? Was it okay? How was it? Was it good? Was it not good? And of course, on some level, Trump knows that it was not good. But please, how did I do? Was it, is it?
While several people praised him to his face, telling him he did a great job, that's not what a lot of them are saying privately today. Instead, those around Trump have described what happened as a draw at best and a loss at worst. Several of them told CNN they were stunned that the former president failed to do a better job executing on the talking points that he had been preparing with his team for weeks against Vice President Harris, her record, her policy reversals. Trump had actually done more debate prep ahead of his first meeting with Harris than he did for his debate with President Biden earlier this summer. Yet they didn't believe that he made some of the central arguments against her, including this one about why she hasn't carried out the promises that she's making now in the last 3.5 years that she has been in office. He didn't go there until his closing argument that surprised a lot of people in his inner circle. Instead, they believe that Trump took the bait every single time Harris offered it up.
Yep.
While multiple Trump allies described what happened last night as a missed opportunity for the former president, they have since started downplaying the debate's significance overall, arguing that it won't shift his numbers with voters in states like Pennsylvania. Trump himself is non-committal today about a potential second debate, but almost every ally of his that I spoke with said they do ultimately believe he will agree to one.
All right. So I don't know that he's going to ultimately agree to a debate, but that's very interesting insight. We've been learning over the last 3 days since the debate, that Donald Trump tried much harder to actually win the debate against Kamala Harris. He didn't really seem to think he needed to prepare against Joe Biden, and maybe he didn't. And he didn't really seem to think that he needed to have a strategy as such against Joe Biden, and maybe he didn't. He just kind of told some lies and didn't get too agitated. And next thing you know, Joe Biden's out of the race. Trump recognized, I need to do something here. He had Tulsi Gabbard helping him to prep, which, by the way, that certainly seems to have backfired. Hopefully nobody asks Tulsi Gabbard for debate prep help anymore. And despite Trump's efforts to actually be prepared to defeat Kamala Harris in this debate, she didn't even sweat. I mean, it's not metaphorically. She was calm, cool, and collected. And Trump was visibly sweating from his upper lip the entire debate and looking pained. His eye was almost swollen shut. He was screaming, gripping the lectern. If there is to be a second debate, I don't know that there's really more Trump can even do to better prepare. But one of the things he is now alleging is that she cheated. When you lose, you claim the other side cheated. Let's talk about that. I want to tell you about an important part of my morning routine, AG1, one of our sponsors. Before I have my cappuccino, I put just 1 scoop of AG1 in a glass of water. Every morning, I get my vitamins, my minerals, my pre and probiotics, and more, just filling the nutritional gaps, supporting my gut. AG1 contains prebiotics, probiotics, and gut-supporting ingredients just to support digestion, reduce bloating. In a recent research study, AG1 was shown to double the healthy bacteria in the gut. These healthy bacteria work together, break down food, and alleviate bloating, promote digestive regularity, aid in digestive comfort long term. AG1 is made with bioavailable ingredients that work with your body. And what good is a supplement if your body can't absorb and use it? AG1's powder form makes it easy for your body to digest and access the nutrient-dense ingredients in the formula. AG1 is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 plus 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription order at drinkag1.com/Pacman. The link is in the description.